They want to share their lives with you because they're honored that each and every one of you is committing to carrying on their story, which really crowns you as surrogate survivors. You're taking over their life and their life story, which to them is obviously very real and very tangible. And those people out there that say, oh, the Holocaust never happened, you're going to be able to stand up and say, I met a person who was there. I heard the story, I didn't read it in a book. I didn't hear it from a friend or a relative. I met a person who was there in the concentration camps.
In the concentration camp, right? What did you have to do to like survive and stuff?
Well, to survive many things, but one of the things I did in Auschwitz in particular, I was assigned to work with horses. Now, I was 14 years old when I arrived in Auschwitz. I lived in a city, I didn't know much about horses. I had to take care of them, and also I worked with them. They were work horses. One of the positive aspects of that was that horses get fed. And they get fed oats, which are really not very edible for human beings. But they were also fed other stuff. They were fed carrots and sugar beets. And since horses can't talk, I was able to steal some of their sugar beets and eat them. So I got extra food.
What was it like when you were separated from your family? What did it feel like?
This is the most painful part of my story. That's why I never spoke to groups before, because of this. Because it's so hard now, I myself cannot understand it. But now there are so few people left. And I did not speak to groups before because I cannot tell you a story that is not true. This is my story. And it is so difficult to understand. But Mr. Roth told me he doesn't have anybody to speak, so I volunteered and I came.
I had the chance to learn even in Auschwitz. Well, in Auschwitz is someone who knew Mishnayos Bahag, Mishnayos Brachos, and he taught me, he learned with me. Periodically, every few weeks, particularly on the Yontif, when Yontif occurs, they would institute what they called a selection. Selection was, well, tantamount to mibachai mibavumas. You know what it is? How they say it in the Shoshone?
How did you feel about hiding in the hole for a year and a half?
How did I feel? I tell you the truth. I really had no particular feelings except gratitude that I was able to have a hiding place. So many of my brethren didn't have a chance to hide. So just be very aware of who you are and be very happy to be Americans as well as Jews and have a love for Israel.
In September of 1938, we hear banging on the door at night. I was sleeping and I was awakened by yelling and shouting, "House, house, Judah! Open! Because they were sending the Jews who were born in Poland, if they had Polish passports, they were taking them back to Poland. The Jews that went to Poland were left in a no man's land. The Poles wouldn't let them in, and the Germans wouldn't let them back. And many of them were killed right in this area.
How will the Holocaust be taught to your children and grandchildren? There will be no eyewitness people anymore. So what I want to do on this program with you is for you to become surrogate eyewitnesses. In other words, I want you to know everything about me and be able to tell your children about me. I wrote a book which you can read. And you'll have the book, and you'll have the notes, and you'll have in your memory me. So when your children come to Sha'arei Torah or any other school, you'll be able to talk to them. Not only your children, your grandchildren, about me. So in a way, I as a survivor will be in your mind and in your heart.
When you hear a story from a survivor, it's like a living, breathing proof of what happened. And if you read it from a book, you read it, it's all you see in a movie, it's not as real as face to face. He's telling you the story.
Mr. Roth was telling us about his story in the Holocaust. I was almost crying to see how the pain and the sufferings he had to deal with, and yet he still made it through. And it's good that he tells us a story, so everyone should pass it on, and everyone should know about these stories.
She's gone through very rough times, and as I see that she's a Holocaust survivor, it shows how much we should appreciate everything we have because of what she went through and how much she suffered. I can't imagine me doing this. It's too hard.
In 2045, during the 100th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, I will be able to retell Mrs. Landau's story. On that day, I will become Mrs. Landau, and I will be her voice, and I won't let anybody forget her.
My survivor, Mrs. Warshawski, had to live in a church and make believe that she was a Christian. If they found out that she was a Jew, the consequences could have been deadly. Hearing this made me understand that my duty is to keep her story alive.
I'll be sharing my testimony with my friends, family, my children, strangers, and I'll explain it to them exactly how she explained it to me.
I learned from Mr. Gross that you should never give up hope and always believe in God. And it doesn't matter whatever is happening, always believe in Him. He's always there listening to you.
They give you like energy. They give you a sign never to give up because if they survive the Holocaust, that means I can do anything. Because to survive the Holocaust is very big, so I can do something now that I would have never done before.
They always had a will. They thought in their brain that they had to put on tefillin, they had to say Shema, they had to pray Amidah, they had to pray to Hashem and they were in the concentration camp under death penalty, death law. And me, if I stay in bed or sleep over and not go to shul or something, I don't have any reason to. I should always think about the Holocaust survivors and push myself to always pray to Hashem.
It changed how I look at other people, how I act to other people, how I take my life for granted sometimes, and how I have to cherish my life, and how I have to cherish all the people around me.
I spoke what I learned about this Adapt Survive program to my parents, and they felt very emotional. They started asking me questions and didn't stop. They wanted to know exactly what happened to these Jews.
I found that someone that went through so much and can still make a life for himself after the Holocaust, it was so inspiring for me, and now I realize that you should be grateful for whatever you have.
Now that I've learned about the Holocaust, I know that to help other Jews, help anyone, and to never back down from the enemy.
I could say that I actually spoke to a person who was there and give details, and B'ezrat Hashem, I'll pass it on to my family and to my children, and I would like to thank Mr. Gross.
It's really painful for them, and even to tell us the story is really painful. So to them it must be really important. So to keep their story alive means a lot to them. So now it means a lot to me.
In 30 years from now, in 2045, or 100 years from World War II, I'm hoping that everyone should come together, our whole classmates. Maybe we can even have a reunion and everyone come together and go to the crowd and tell everyone about the Holocaust. That they're not in the world right now, and they gave us a job to go and pass it down to everyone else. And today's the day that we have to pass it down to everyone else.
This program changed me by telling me all these ways. So I want to tell these stories over. I want to be her survivor to tell everyone over, because in a couple of years they might not be living anymore. So I want to tell a story so people believe the story.
What we have seen in the children is they come back and discuss with their rebbes and their teachers, and they realize that they've met people who are special human beings. And we believe here in Sha'arei Torah, by exposing Talmidim, by exposing students and children to real pieces of not just history, but pieces of Klal Yisrael, children can only grow. We have seen the growth emerge and evolve, and now at the end of the year, where we will bring together the culmination of this program, and we will make sure that the memory and the lives and the legacies of these beautiful people will forever, forever live on. And B'ezrat Hashem, together we will see the coming of the Mashiach, and we'll walk together with these beautiful people. Hazaku Baruch Rabbi Schwebel and the entire Sharet Torah for being involved in such a holy, holy endeavor.
Hashem Shoichein B'Tzion.
I see over here a child. Her parents for sure vanished, and she's looking for a place to stay. So she's hiding from the Germans. She's scared for her life. She's scared that maybe the Germans will come and take her. She looks like she's very sick. She's very hungry. She wants something to eat. She wants someone to take care of her.
I realized this one art that just stood out to me. The glass, it's like the ice cold of Germany, how we were working, and the hands are just asking for God. The red, it's like the burning bush, and we're just praying to God that we get that help. We want freedom.
Here, this man is in the concentration camps. He's working. That man's watching him because just in case something happens to him. Concentration camps is all the trains that are coming to concentration camps or death camps, and all these people having the last words, whatever they want to say to their family relatives before this man kills them.
I learned from Anne Frank that you can always survive whatever you need to survive if you always have faith and you always look at stuff in the good way.
Yerushalayim,